everyone, and happy Tuesday. This is Heidi Reeves with Floyd County Conservation, and once again we are somewhere in Floyd County. We are about half a mile west of the Fossil and Prairie Center at an area called the Joney Laudner Family Nature Preserve. And so this area is a preserve, but it's a success story for showing how management techniques can be used to reestablish a prairie and what that prairie will look like when it started. So let me get you turned around. And you can see the area here. So this area in front of us had originally been brome field. So it was all brome grass, at least when I first started with the county at about 15 years ago. And through some different management techniques, we've added wetlands in here, pothole wetlands, and we've also planted native prairie. So we can kind of show you how that looks and how it's coming along. So you can see in front of us here is one of the pieces of native prairie, although it has been recently mowed. So as we are establishing a native prairie, actually in the first couple of years, mowing is pretty important. It helps to control some of the weeds and helps the prairie to get a nice good start. And then the native plants will actually outcompete the weeds and you won't have to worry about it once it gets established. So this area was mowed, I believe, last week. So that's why you can see that it looks a little shorter and we're missing some of the prairie plants or the prairie flowers that would be blooming at this time of year. But as we get out into it, you will see that there are black-eyed Susans out here, as well as the gray-headed coneflower that we saw at Mink Creek last week, and also some of the bee balm or monarda. So here's a cluster of the bee balm or monarda, and also some of the black-eyed Susans. Bee balm is one of those plants that has been cultivated, and so you can actually buy it as a perennial in any landscape or garden nursery. And they've also changed some of the colors. I know there's a red variety, there's the native purple, and then I believe there's even a white or kind of a pinkish color. So if you want to have a native, but you want kind of a different look to it, you can, take some of the cultivated native varieties and establish those. And obviously having perennials, especially native ones, in your home landscape is always great. Once they're established, you don't have to water them. They don't have the watering needs that an annual would have. And they're obviously low maintenance. They're going to come back every year and you can just enjoy their beauty. So as we walk down here to the wetland, you can see some of the gray-headed coneflowers that were just starting to bloom last week. So you can see those petals that kind of hang down. They kind of remind me of a skirt. And as those blow in the wind, they're really pretty. They're in tall clusters, like you can see on that there. So they're just one of the many flowers that are blooming at this time of year. Right now the prairie is in its peak, just like the woodland was in its peak in the spring. So if you want to look for some really interesting colors and flower shapes and that, just take a short little hike out to the prairie. So Iowa, when the pioneers came, would have had pothole wetlands all over. And some of those are evident in some of the fields still, although through the production of our drainage tiles, a lot of those areas were drained in order to plant the corn and bean fields and crop fields that we have today. Here we constructed these wetlands in order to hold some of the water, have it soak into the ground instead of running off. So you can see here there's a lot of dragonflies that are buzzing around. Dragonflies are a great insect to have around. They actually like to eat mosquitoes, and they will catch them with their legs as they're flying. So It's a good thing to have a lot of dragonflies around because it helps to keep that mosquito population down. And since this wetland was constructed, a lot of these plants were at least attempted to start. I can remember helping our naturalist at the time, Laura Elfers, and we were planting some of these arrowroots, which are the larger leaf plant in front of us that its leaf looks like an arrow. That makes it nice and handy. There are some bulrushes and sedges along the perimeter of this area, as well as cattails. So all of those are helping to create nice habitat for waterfowl or fish or the reptiles and amphibians that are utilizing this wetland. I know in the spring and in the fall, as the waterfowl are migrating, there's lots of ducks that are on here. And we do have some wood duck nest boxes here as part of our management, and those are checked every spring to see their successes and kind of get an idea of how the hatch was the previous year. So it's kind of interesting to see. Any of the brown tree-looking things that you see in front of us, those are willows, and those are or have been treated in order to keep those from taking over so that we have a nice diverse edge habitat to this wetland. Otherwise they will just take over and outcompete the other things. So we are just trying to maintain a nice healthy balance and not have one species up with another. So as I said, this area had been all brome, and through a series of years, kind of broken down into 3 different pieces, and we've been planting each piece individually to natives. Until now, it is completely natives. So now the only management we have to worry about is prescribed burns, and then mowing at least until it's established. So there really isn't a trail system here. The trail that I'm walking on is more of a management in order to get back here with our equipment, and it also works as a fire break, because when we do our prescribed burns, we obviously don't burn the entire area at once. We break it up into different sections and burn different sections on a different year rotation. So we'll just kind of go up the hill. When we were down by the wetland, the red-winged blackbirds were really scolding me, so I wouldn't be surprised if they had a nest somewhere around. And as we go up this hill, there's a lot of the tree sparrows, or tree swallows, actually, that are buzzing. So it's kind of nice to see the different birds that are around. And obviously, different time of day, different time of year, different days, you're going to see different things. So let's take a little hike to the top of the knob here. It is a little warm out here if you haven't been outside today. I don't know if that it's a perfect day for a hike, but it's not raining and it's not snowing, and I've definitely hiked with you guys live on those events, so can't really complain about an 80-degree day in July. So as we get back here to this next piece, it hasn't been mowed, so that way I can show you what these flowers look like in their more normal, natural look. Hope you guys have a chance to get out at some point. It's hard to believe it is the middle of July. This year just seems to be flying by. All right, so this is an older section that's already more established. So you see we don't have to mow it. So we've got the bee balm, which would be these purple ones. We've got the gray-headed coneflower. There's more coneflowers here that are going to be coming up. Let's see. Obviously, these clumps of grasses, big blue stem, Indian grass, those are going to be showcased in the fall when they turn their colors and kind of show off. Here are some of the pale purple coneflowers, still looking gorgeous. Let's see. We've got black-eyed Susans. There's a couple other ones that we've seen in other areas, but we'll just showcase them again because they are two of the more unique species. So we've got compass plant, which these little flower buds here will be opening to a yellow sunflower-like flower, and the leaves are thick, waxy, and kind of rough, almost like a sandpaper. And if you notice, the leaves kind of point in you'll have to believe me since you don't know the directions I'm standing in. The leaves are facing in a more north and south direction, so that they get all of the full sun in the morning from the east and the full sun in the evening from the west. So that was part of the reason that it became named compass plant, because the pioneers could use it as a compass. And then another plant that has adaptations for our very unique weather is this right here. This is rattlesnake master, and this is its flower, or more like a seed pod. Its leaves are pretty thick and waxy, almost like a yucca leaf. And part of the cool thing about rattlesnake master is it was believed that if you put these dried pods in a pouch around your neck, then that would protect you from being around a rattlesnake or getting bit by a rattlesnake. So that's kind of a neat thing. I'm not quite sure if that's how it's got its name, but it's a neat way for me to remember it. It's obviously worked for me because ever since I've known about rattlesnake master, I have never seen a rattlesnake. And we do not have any rattlesnakes in Floyd County, so I'm going to be safe for a little bit longer. So you can see all of the native prairie around us. There's lots, like I said, of the bee balm, pale purple coneflowers, the gray-headed coneflowers, lots of rattlesnake master, and then another one that we've seen a couple times, but another favorite is this beautiful orange plant, and that would be butterfly milkweed. So that is one of at least 5 milkweeds that I know of in this area. All of them are a good source of nectar and food for the monarch butterflies, or for any butterflies or pollinators as far as that goes. And plus that bright orange is such a beautiful plant to have around to see. So hope you've enjoyed our little hike of the Joney Laudner Family Nature Preserve. And we will see you again on Thursday from somewhere in Floyd County. If you get a chance, get outside. Have a great day. Bye.